Hi guys and gals, Al Smith here. Today we're going to talk about the overcall conventions that are used after the opponents open one no trump. There's a whole plethora of them, and I'm going to give you a little bit of an overview of how to choose which one is best and describe that particular recommendation. Okay, let's kind of review for a second first. What does the opener's one no trump bid mean? Well, when the opponents open one no trump, it means that the opponent has generally a balanced hand. And one of the things that you might want to check is to whether the opponents open one no trump with a 5-card major. Okay, if it's very infrequently, just ignore that particular consideration. But if they do open one no trump frequently with a 5-card major, note that just so that you understand it and understand how it fits into the dynamics of the hand. Okay, the opponent should have announced the point range for the one no trump open. Okay, currently the maximum range that they can put on their convention card and announce is a 5-point range. It's changed in 2019. Okay, so it's actually legal to open, let's say, one no trump with 13 to 17 points. Okay, so also check that. Strong no trump is generally considered to be 15 to 17 points. A weak no trump is 11 to 14. And there's an ultra light no trump, which some people use as an 8 to 11 point range. So understand what your opponents are playing, and also understand whether their no trump range varies based upon the seat and based upon vulnerability. All these things are legal. And yes, they do affect how you're going to consider what you should be doing in relationship to the hand. Okay, some sequences where you might want to consider overcalling the opponent's one no trump open are, the simple ones, where the first seat opens one no trump and you're sitting in second seat, or you're sitting in third seat and your partner's already passed, and so on and so on. So there's lots of different situations where you might want to consider overcalling a one no trump, and just think about that. All right, now. Okay, if the opponents are playing a weak no trump or an ultralight no trump, just treat it like a normal open, and then bid accordingly. If they're using a strong no trump, consider opening. And the most important criteria is the shape of your hand and its losing trick count. As our famous Marty Birkin would say, points schmoints. Okay, points really don't make a lot of difference. The shape of your hand and its trick-taking capability is what makes all the difference in the world. So you want to use some type of losing trick count, and it's always good if you can incorporate vulnerability into the losing trick count methodology. That's why I recommend 2, 3, 4. Okay, and if you use 2, 3, 4, I'll review that briefly. Okay, if you've got to get a result of greater than or equal to 2, then get in there and compete. Okay, you can't win if you can't win if you're not competing. Okay, now another consideration is whether you're in the direct seat or the indirect seat. The direct seat is the one immediately behind the one no trump bidder. Okay, and you can actually upgrade your hand because your points and your values are sitting behind the strong hand, and that increases the trick-taking potential of your hand. Okay, it also improves the capability of a long suit or two-suited hand. And another one is where you've got a strong balanced hand with 15 plus high card points. That's in essence another one no trump open sitting behind the no trump opener. Okay, now the balanced seat is the is the person sitting in front of the no trump bidder. So the no trump bidder is behind the balance seat. Now, what this does, it all weakens the trick-taking potential of the person in the balance seat because the high cards are behind you. Okay, now one of the approaches you can use here is using the Mel's rule of two. And what Mel's rule of two says is only overcall one no trump in the balance seat with 2+ distribution points. In other words, you've got a void, you've got a singleton, you've got two doubletons. So take these different different approaches to evaluating your hand into consideration in making the determination, excuse me, whether you want to jump into the fray or not. Okay, let's do a quick review of the 2-3-4 bidding method. Okay, and I use this quite a bit, and I recommend that it's something you learn and you get used to because it really gives you a great capability to evaluate the overall trick-taking strength of your hand, including incorporating vulnerability based upon the shape of the hand. Okay, and what it is really it says that you count the calculation as you calculate the level that's safe to bid by taking 7 minus the ace, king, queen trick losing count plus the vulnerability factor. Vulnerability factor varies based upon whether you have favorable or unfavorable vulnerability. With unfavorable vulnerability, the V factor is 2. With equal vulnerability, it's 3. With favorable vulnerability, it is 4. So you can see how it incorporates that hand where you've got favorable vulnerability. You actually can bid with 2 less tricks than with unfavorable vulnerability. Okay, let's do a quick evaluation of this and just determine based upon using 2-3-4 whether you should overcall one no trump. Okay, so in this first one, what do we got? We've got 2, 4, 6. We've got 6 spades, 4 hearts, 2 diamonds, and 1 club. So let's do our losing trick count first. How many losing tricks do we have in spades? We've got 1. And we're missing the queen. Ace, king, queen. Don't count anything beyond 4 cards in the suit, we ignore. Okay, beyond 3, we ignore. Okay, now in hearts, we're missing the ace, king, so we've got 2. In diamonds, we've got 2 diamonds, no ace, king, we've got 2. Clubs, we got 1, but that gives us the total of 6 losing tricks. So we've got 7 minus 6 plus 3 because we've got equal vulnerability, so we can safely compete to the 4 level. Now, does that mean we're going to jump in here and bid 4 spades? No way. What we want to do is we want to be able to show that we've got a strong hand, that we've got game possibility, and we want to make sure that we interfere with the opponents to the maximum degree possible, so we can screw with their minds. All right, so I'm not going to tell you what to bid yet. I just want to evaluate these hands to determine whether we should be competing or not. Let's look at the second one here. We've got 2 spade losers, 3 heart losers, 2 diamond losers, and 2 club losers. Okay, now we're not vulnerable, and the opponents are vulnerable. So now we've got, let's say, the opponent, we're not, so we have favorable vulnerability. So the V factor is going to be equal to 4. Even though this is a weak, crappy hand, okay, we've got 7 minus 9. We've got 9 losers plus 4. It says it's safe to be able to compete to the 2 level. So what are we going to do? We're going to compete. We're actually we want to be able to show our diamond suit. Now, the question is whether our methodology or convention we're using allows us to show and describe this hand accurately. So we're not going to talk about that yet. But yeah, this is a hand we want to compete on. So let's look at this next example. We've got 2 losers in spades. Oh, by the way, we have unfavorable vulnerability. Ew. Okay, the V factor is going to be equal to 2. Here we've got 1 loser in hearts, 2 losers in diamonds, 3 losers in clubs. So again, we only have 8 compared to 9 before, right? But we've got 7 minus 8 plus 2. So except we're only able to compete because of the vulnerability to the 1 level. So bidding is not safe. So we're not going to compete here. So here's 3 examples of how to use 2-3-4 to determine whether it's safe to compete or not based upon the shape of your hand and its associated losing trick value. Okay, let's look at evaluating one no trump overcall conventions. Now, what we want to be able to do is to make bids that describe the most, as many shapes of hands as we can and the characteristics of those hands. So we want to be able to show natural one-suited hands. Okay, what's that? A 5+ card suit. We want to be able to show 2 suited hands. Now, you've probably all heard of the Cappelletti convention. Okay, and it's one that's used after one no trump, but it focuses on 2-carded suits, 2 suited hands. So we want to be able to do that. Okay, we want to be able to also show that we've got a strong 15+ point hand and a 1-suited hand. We also would like to be able to say we can show a 15+ point balanced hand. Okay, so that's a lot of different types of hands we'd like to be able to describe with one single bid. That's going to be a challenge. Let's see. We also want to know be able to determine the level that we should be able to bid and to compete to, both in terms of potentially making the contract and in terms of obstructing the opponents. So we want to be able to say, what level is it safe to bid at, and how can we maximize the constructive value? The other thing to keep in mind is simplicity. Okay, I'm a little bit addled, so I like to keep things fairly simple if I can. Okay, because I like to be able to use the same thing against strong, weak, and ultralight no trumps. Okay, you know, for a while I was using one system for strong, another one for weak, another one for ultralight, one in direct seat, one in indirect seat, or the balancing seat. And I'm pulling my hair out and said, this is just too much for my little old brain. Okay, and I want to be able to do that across the board. So one of the things I've done over time is I constructed this matrix. Okay, and I'm not going to go into its details, but here are all the different bids that I'd like to be able to describe. Okay, from 2-level bids, 3-level natural bids, you know, 2 suited hands, strong 1-suited hand, strong balance suits, penalty doubles, and so forth. And I looked at these different ones. There's Blooman, Meckwell, se., Cappelletti, don't. Okay, and there's probably 10 or 15 more. Okay, now the criteria here is which one gives me the greatest number of the ability to describe the greatest number of different shaped hands. Okay, and what I found is I like Blooman using the 2, 3, 4 losing trick count system. In my judgment, it's the best one no trump overcall convention, although Meckwell is pretty doggone good, and I might use it if I was an expert, but alas, I'm not an expert. You know, I don't really handle bidding, jumping into the fray with 2 4-card suits. And that's one of the things that Meckwell addresses that Blooman does not. Okay, it's pretty easy to use and remember. You use it against all no trump straights. It allows you to just describe all the hand shapes except 4 diamonds and with 4 hearts and 4 spades. So, you know, it's pretty versatile. So let's take a look at how it's going to work. I should mention this. There's only compromise is there's no penalty double. And in reality, no good bridge player is ever going to play one no trump double unless they know they can make the contract. All right. Okay, now again, I'm only going to use Blooman when the 2, 3, 4 losing trick value is greater or equal to 2. Okay, and remember, we're going to use unusual no trump, 2 no trump, when we've got 5+ clubs and 5+ diamonds. It's another convention that complements the Blooman. Okay, now what we're going to do is I'm going to go through the different bids. So the opponent is open with no trump. All right, now 2 clubs is an artificial bid. And what it means is it says, hey, partner, I've got 4 clubs and 4 diamonds, 4 hearts, or 4 spades with 12 high card points or a 2, 3, 4 value greater than equal to 2. Okay, and I'm only going to use the 2 club bid in the direct seat because I want to be able to capitalize on being behind the opener when I'm looking for a 4-4 fit. Okay, I like to have a better fit if I'm in a different suit. Okay, now all other bids, all other suit bids at all levels are natural. Okay, so what's that mean? 2 diamonds, 2 hearts, 2 spades, 3 clubs, 3 hearts, 3 diamonds, 3 hearts, 3 spades, and so forth, all represent natural bids. They represent the suit that have been bid. So you can jump right in there and compete to the maximum level that you think is practical in those suits. Okay, so it makes things, it combines the characteristics of conventional bids over one no trump with natural bids and preserves the natural bids. So all you have to remember are there only there's 3 artificial bids over one no trump: double, 2 clubs, and 2 no trump, because 2 no trump is the unusual no trump. Okay, so it makes things a lot easier in terms of bidding a suit that you like. Okay, in the direct seat, you're going to bid the maximum level with 2, 3, 4 with a preemptive hand to maximize the obstructive opponent's bidding. So if you calculate your 2, 3, 4, and it says you can bid safely at 3 level, go ahead and bid 3 level. Okay, because it keeps the opponents out of the auction. In the balancing seat, bid the maximum level you think that is necessary to keep the opponents out of the bidding. Now, let me regress for a second. In the direct seat, let's say your suit is spades, and you evaluate 2, 3, 4, and it comes out it's safe to bid to 3 level. Well, you might consider hedging your bet and bidding 2 spades because the opponents have to bid at the 3 level. But if your suit is hearts, bidding 2 hearts doesn't really obstruct them. So if you can bid 3 hearts using 2, 3, 4, bid 3 hearts. Keep them out of the bidding. Make them guess. Make them try to figure out what they should do with the absence of information. Okay, one of the things is, let's come back to the balancing seat, is in the balancing seat, a minus is the 1 no trump points are behind you. Positive is the 1 no trump bidder makes the opening lead. Okay, now you understand that if you bid, let's say it's 1 no trump, pass, and you bid 2 dimes, the hand gets passed out, the opening leader is going to make the lead. So he's going to lead into your strength. Okay, so that's a positive. All right. The next artificial bid, or the last one we really have to talk about, is double. Okay, a double in normal situation is for penalty, but using Blooman, it says it's not. It says it's a relay to 2 clubs. So I'm sitting in second seat. The opponent opens 1 no trump, and I double. It says, "Hey partner, I want you to bid 2 clubs because I've got something I want to bid to further describe my hand." Okay, so it goes 1 no trump, double, pass, and it goes to my partner, the advancer. Now, what's the advancer going to do? Well, if the advancer has got a 5-card suit, definitely if it's a 6-card suit, he's going to ignore my request to bid 2 clubs and bid that suit. Okay, why? Because we're trying to find the suit where we've got the greatest fit. All right, so now, if they don't have a 5+ card suit, I got to bid 2 clubs. Okay, what it says is, "Hey, I'm doing what you told me. I've bid 2 clubs. You tell me what you got." Okay, and just as a comment, no good bridge player will ever pass 1 no trump double unless they know they can make the contract. They're going to use redouble as a rescue redouble, things like that. So by not being able to use the double for penalty, really doesn't cost you very much. All right, now the advanced bidders after the advancer bids after the okay, after the well, let's talk about the bids after the two club bid. So we've talked about the bids. Now let's talk about what the advancer is supposed to do after after these various bids occur. Okay, if the situation is one no trump and your partner bids two clubs, well, what are you supposed to do? Well, what does the two clubs mean? So they've got four clubs and four cards in one of the other three suits. We don't know which one, but we know he's got four cards in another suit. Okay, so if the responder has clubs after this situation, if the responder here bids something after the overcaller bids two clubs, pass. Okay. In essence, what this says is that we've got one no trump, 15 to 17, or whatever it is. The partner says, I've got something in my hand. Okay, you don't know what it is. Okay, and the opponent, second opponent, jumps into the auction. Okay, it's two hearts. Now, that could be a natural bid, it could be a transfer to spades. They'll tell us about it. But what we want to do is just step back, hide in the weeds, because they've taken us off the hook from having to bid. To make any bids. So let's just hide in the weeds and find out what the opponents have. Now let's assume that if the responder passes. So we've got one no trump. Our partner bids two clubs, and the responder passes. What are we supposed to do now? Well, if we've got 4+ clubs and we know our partner's got 4+ clubs, what do we want to do? That's an 8+ card fit. We want to pass because we found where we want to be. Okay, if we don't have 4+ clubs, we've got less or equal to 3 clubs, but we do have 3+ plus diamonds and no 5+ card heart or spade suit. What we want to do is we're going to want to bid 2 diamonds. Why are we bidding 2 diamonds with 3 of them? Well, what if our partner's got 4 clubs and 4 diamonds? Well, if we've got 3+, that's going to give us, we don't want to bypass that bid. So if we've got 3+ diamonds, we're going to bid 2 diamonds. And if the opener's got 4 diamonds, they know that we've got at least 3, that's 7. He's going to pass. That's going to be our suit. If the opener doesn't have 4 diamonds, he's going to bid his 4-card major. Okay, and we'll see how that works. Okay, the bid is going to be 2 hearts. At this point, I had 4 clubs and 4 diamonds. Now the advancer is going to either pass or going to bid 2 no trump, saying, hey, that's our best bid. Same with spades. Okay, if the advancer now bids 2 hearts. He said, I got 5+ hearts. I have a good suit. I don't care about looking for a 4-4 fit. I'm going to hope that we have at least a 5-2 fit and maybe a 5-3 fit. The same true for spades. So you can see how you work that to find your best possible fit. Now, the opener's second bid after advancer bids 2 clubs after the double. The bid 1 no trump, double, pass, 2 clubs. Hey, that's a demand bid. Okay, unless, of course, if they bid the 2 clubs, it says I don't have a 5+ card suit. Okay, it's up to you. You tell me what you have, and we'll figure out where to go from that. Okay, now if the opener passes the 2 clubs, what's that mean? It says, hey, he's got 5+ clubs, because if he had 4 clubs and 4 cards, another major, it would have been 2 clubs. So it says, I got 5+ cards. That's where I want to play. So in essence, that's the way you preserve the natural bid of a 2-club overcall by doubling, and then when your partner bids 2 clubs, of passing. Okay. Now, if you've got more than 5 clubs, 6 or 7 clubs, and the 2, 3, 4 says 3, instead of bidding the double, you would have bid 3 clubs to begin with. That would maximize your preemptive value. Okay, now, if after the 2-club relay, If the opener bids 2 diamonds, in essence, what the opening bidder is doing is bidding using the bids from the Cappelletti convention. 2 diamonds in this case says, hey, I've got 5 plus hearts and 5 plus spades. If you play really, really aggressive, you could cut that down to 4 plus hearts and 4 plus spades. I don't recommend that, but as you get better and more used to this, things that you might want to consider looking at how to be a little bit more aggressive and discuss with your partner those situations where you might want to do that. Okay, 2 hearts says, hey, you've got hearts and a minor, just like Cappelletti's. 2 spades says, hey, I got spades and a minor, just like Cappelletti. Okay, so this way we get the double bang for a buck by using Blooman, which that also incorporates Cappelletti. Now, one of the really interesting things about Blooman is instead of making a Cappelletti bid, now we bid 2 no trump. What does that mean? It means the person sitting behind the 1 no trump opener has a no trump opening hand himself. Got 15 to 17 points plus a balanced hand. All right, so cool. So we can describe all the 1-suited hands, the 2-suited hands, a strong balanced hand. Now, just so you know, 2 no trump, but after the 2 no trump, system should be on. And you should only use this in the direct seat. That's the person immediately behind the 1 no trump opener. Okay, you should not use it in the balancing seat because you've got too much risk of the opener's values superseding yours and you losing a lot of tricks. Okay, but if you're sitting behind the opener, you've got the advantage. All right, now let's look at this. 3 clubs, 3 diamonds, 3 hearts, and 3 spades after the double, then the 2 clubs says, hey, I've got a 15 plus point hand and a good 5 plus card suit. And if you got the right values, I'm interested in exploring game. So this is a way that you can actually come into the auction and communicate to your partner that you've got a good suit, you've got points, and you're potentially interested in game depending on what values they have. All right, let's take a look at some examples here. Okay, so you can see we're done with this. All right, but it's not all that terribly complicated. We're going to look at a couple of examples here. Okay, in this first example, again, we've got 1 spade loser, 2 heart loser, 2 diamond losers, 1 club loser. So we looked at that again. So hey, we can open this to the 4 level. Now, what do we want to bid here? Okay, what we can bid, it says we can hedge this to the 4 level, but what we're going to do is we can hedge this. We're not vulnerable there, not vulnerable. We can hedge by bidding 3 spades. We could also hedge by bidding 2 spades. Now, one of the things I'd actually consider with this in hand, because I've got 4 hearts, is, and I know that I've got shortness in both of the minors, we want to keep them from being able to find a fit in the minors. Okay, because we don't think they're going to be able to find a fit in one of the majors because we're holding them both. Is by bidding 3 spades, what we can do is if they want to compete, now they have to compete to the 4 level. So what I would bid with this hand is I bid 3 spades. Okay, now I've also got 7. I'm really not strong enough to double and then bid, but I'm getting close. I've got 1, 2. Look at that. I think that's getting close. Now let's look at this hand here. We saw this before. We've got 2 spade losers, 3. We've got 2. We've got 2 in there. Okay, now it says we're safe to bid to the 2 level. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're actually going to do that. We're going to show our diamonds by bidding 2 diamonds. You say, well, it's not much obstructive value, is it? No, it's not. However, it allows you to tell your partner that you've got something in diamonds and that your hand is strong enough that you could make that overcall. So it helps both from an offensive standpoint. Let's say your partner's got a bunch of diamonds and got some distributional shape. Might be a great sacrifice. Or it gives your partner the capability of knowing the best suit that he can lead if he's on the opening lead is a diamond. Let's look at this here. This is pretty interesting. Look at that. We've got 7 hearts, and we've got crappy cards in the other 3 suits, but we've got 6 losers. Okay, it's safe to bid to the 3 level. All right, so now we've got unfavorable vulnerability. Okay, So what we're going to do, even though we've got unfavorable vulnerability, because we've already factored in the V factor by for show incorporating vulnerability, we're going to bid 3 hearts. That gives us the capability to maximize the obstruction. Okay, so it's 1 no trump, double, pass, 2 clubs, pass, 3 hearts. Okay, and what that does is allow us to keep the opponents from finding their fit potentially within spades, keeps them from talking to one another. Now let's look at another example here. In this one, in the direct seat. Now these are all in the direct seat. So we've got 1 loser in spade, 2 losers in hearts, 1 in diamonds, 1 in clubs. So we've got 5 losers. It says it's safe to open to the 5 level. Okay, now we've got a strong hand here, right? Now, if our partner has the right values, we can make game. So what we want to do is double, then bid 3 spades. Okay, because we know we're going to want to be in spades. Okay, slight possibility we want to be in the hearts, but we're never going to be able to find that. But we can bid 3 spades, double and bid 3 spades. What's that mean? I've got a strong hand. If you've got the right values, some positive values, probably 1 or 2 winners, we can make game. Now let's look at this. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4. We've got 5 losing tricks. Okay, so if our partner can provide us with 2, we're going to make the contract. If you can provide us with 1.5, we've got a really good chance of making the contract. So, if you're the advancer now, if you've got 1.5 tricks or more, you should bid game. All right, let's look at this one, the direct seat, where we've got a crappy hand again. Okay, and we've got unfavorable vulnerability in this case. Well, we've got favorable vulnerability. Okay, and here's something that I didn't discuss, but you might want to consider. It's discussed in more detail under the 234 convention and the details there. Is sometimes you can actually use 5. Now here you're not vulnerable. Okay, so even though it says it's only safe to bid to the 2 level, I go sometimes 5. So I change the V factor and make it 5 and say, okay, that 2 is really 3. With this hand, I might consider bidding 3 diamonds if I'm in the direct seat. It's 1 no trump, 3 diamonds. Okay, now you can just see how much that obstructs the opponents and really screws them up, because they can't use any of the normal conventions at the 2 level. They have to, they have to guess in an auction at the 3 level. So consider this when you have a good 6-card suit. You could say that's not a good suit. Well, it's got 6 cards, and by definition, got 6 cards. That's a good suit. All right, let's look at another example here. Here we've got 5 spades, 5 hearts, and we've got 7 losing tricks. So it says safe to bid to the 2 level. So how can we represent this hand? Remember, this is kind of like a Cappelletti bid. What we're going to do is we're going to double. Then after our partner responds by bidding 2 clubs, let's say our partner doesn't bid 2 clubs, but bids 2 diamonds. Well, we know he's got 5 plus diamonds, so we're going to pass. We've got a 7-card pit. If he bids 2 hearts or 2 spades, we're going to go be happy as a pig in mud, because we're going to have a 10-card suit. So you're not losing anything here. So we're going to double. Our partner's going to bid 2 clubs. We're going to bid 2 diamonds, which is artificial. It says, hey, partner, I've got hearts and spades. You pick. All right. So there's lots more examples we could craft and put in there, but I'll leave those up to you. So you can see how versatile this particular convention is. If you have any questions or anything, give me a call. Okay, and frankly, if you raise your hand right now, I won't see you. I've been used this before using a shark bridge lesson. So bear with me. If you've got any questions, give me a call or send me an email. All right. Well, thank you very much for attending the lesson. I hope you have a great day. And remember, Get in there and compete. Just because they bid one no trump doesn't mean that they own the auction. There's lots and lots of hands where you can compete and effectively take everything away from them.